movie sets. I need your inside scoop on what's going on with Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively.
Oh my gosh. Well, so she's got to prove that there was a smear campaign against her, and most of the internet doesn't believe her. No one
She
ever
has
thought.
become so unlikable. Do you think she was unlikable because of this? Before
No,
this,
and
excuse me.
no, I used to do like extra work and background work. And my
Okay.
wife and I actually both did on Gossip Girl in New York. You do it on all the shows. They kind of like just call you up and you do all the shows. And
Yeah.
she looked miserable 20 years ago. She truly did. She found her success at an early age that they always say a lot of people you stop maturing at the age you became famous. And there's people that handle it well. And then there's people that I think still have an insecurity. And I think from watching her, she wants to be known more than just as an actor. But she was hired to be an actor in a relatively low budget movie that was one of the more successful movies of the year as far as profit margins go. And what you see from a lot of the behind the scenes footage is that she didn't really take direction well. She probably had this power struggle where she felt more successful than obviously Baldoni, who was the first time director and star of the movie. And it looked like in hindsight, she tried to pull a lot of moves in order to make it look like she was harassed on set and that there was a smear campaign. When in fact, it was probably just the internet not liking her, which I know a lot about. I've got plenty of people that don't like me online, and you can't control the internet, and the internet does what the internet does. And I think she's probably surrounded herself and is insulated with enough yes men that she thinks she can do no wrong and doesn't think that it's organic that there's a smear campaign against her. But she was the one who went to the New York Times. They spent months putting together this article before they even asked Baldoni for his last minute statements on it. She created this like sham subpoena with this like defunct company that she had in order to extract text messages that helped prove her case. But it was all like unethical. So the more people look into it, I think the more they're on Baldoni's side. And I think it was just a bad workplace where the whole cast unfollowed Baldoni. And immediately my thought was, well, what did he do wrong? You don't just unfollow people.
Yeah.
And then the more that's uncovered, it's that she was trying to promise them things. She got Brandon Sklenar represented at her agency. Her and Ryan Reynolds had all of this power that in the end they got their own edited version of the movie made. And she had Taylor Swift on her side at the time in order to get a song in the movie. And in the end, it was just like a real. I mean, this is one of the biggest PR clusterfucks ever because none of this is helping her case, and yet there's so much ego involved that they're still barreling ahead to trial, and there's no way in the world a jury is gonna think that her allegations meet what they're seeing, what they're going to see with their own eyes, which is that maybe they didn't get along on set, but like she was accusing him of wild things, and then the footage didn't live up to the accusations. So
Right.
having seen all of that, I think it's such a bad look for her, but she keeps doubling and tripling down. And I, every lawyer I talked to a year ago, or like when this thing took off, was like, there's no way it's going to go to trial. But they didn't factor in the egos, the unlimited money that isn't taking no for an answer here.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, were you part of this whole thing where a lot of the creators were given a subpoena?
No, and I was so insulted. I was like, I've got big numbers here. We're getting millions of views, and I wasn't included, and I don't know why. And I think there were more females, there were more women that were subpoenaed, but Popcorn Planet was no. I slept under the radar, and I think part of it was
I'm
more.
so sorry.
Well, I mean, and again, I was dealing with this other lawsuit, which I was on the right side of.
Right.
So you never want it. But I also was like, I didn't care if I don't think I would have cared too much if it came because, you get to a point where you realize if you do everything on the books, there's nothing to hide. Blake Lively was alleging that all of these creators were working with Justin Baldoni's attorney to smear Blake Lively. And my thought was like, do you know how we make, like those of us that are getting good, we make good money. They can't afford to pay us. Like Popcorn Planet, They're making Candace Owens. Are you kidding me? She's making it. She's clearing $1 million a month. How much
Right.
money? I know Baldoni's got a billionaire backer, but they don't have that kind of money that's going to tell Candace what to say or think. So
Right.
it was very naive of Blake Lively to think that that's how it works. There
Right.
is astroturfing. I'm super against it, but this wasn't a case. The internet just did internet things.
Right. So, do you think that, like, so the last time I even talked about this was when I had Lauren on my show and she had just been subpoenaed. So, what ended up happening with that? I saw that Perez Hilton went out there, who also has been on my show. He went and represented himself. He made a big stink about the whole thing. What ended up happening with that?
I think most of it was dropped. I think there are a few people that are still being subpoenaed or are somehow a part of it, like two or three names. I think Candace
Mm.
Owens, there's Sage Steele, I believe. There's some really random people involved. And, there's no they're not gonna like I said, there's 0% chance that it's gonna lead to anything. It was a lot of like Blake side kicking tires,
But that's
looking
what I mean.
for.
Don't you think that also all this stuff keeps backfiring her and makes her look worse and worse and worse? First of all, it starts with the video of her in her own mouth. Like, remember that one clip where she was talking to the reporter, and the reporter's like, "Congratulations on your baby bump," and then she goes, "Congratulations on your baby bump or on your bump." Or
Yeah.
whatever, and then refuses to look at the girl again. Just so rude. So, like, from her mouth, you can tell that she's terrible. And I think a lot of people before that liked her because she's married to Ryan Reynolds, who's so likable. And she's pretty and whatever. And she's done some movies and she's Taylor Swift's best friend. So women just liked her because of her daughters who all are obsessed with Taylor. And if it's Taylor's best friend, well, she's got to be amazing, you know? So I think there was a lot of things that rolled up into it seems like a big fall from grace because then she became so unlikable for that. Then this whole stupid thing of subpoenaing these people, it's like clearly no one is telling any of these people to pretend that we don't like you. Like that's just
Yeah.
dumb.
It's terrible PR, and I think it comes down to her attorneys are making a ton of money, and she has a lot of money to burn. So I think it's a case where they just did a lot of different legal filings, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's wild. I mean, she's made the situation so much harder for her because there's nobody in Hollywood that's worth that kind of drama. For
Yeah.
the film projects, they're just maybe there's some ultra A-listers that bring some baggage and they're worth it because they do box office numbers. But Blake was like a serviceable low A-lister. You knew her
Yeah.
name. She's going to do some movie where a shark attacks her on some rock and you're going to watch it on streaming services. But and she was great in the movie. Her and Baldoni had great chemistry. There's a lot of people that looking into the human aspect of it say, man, Ryan Reynolds might have been super jealous, and they look at his previous relationships where he's been outed by previous celebrities of being like, boy, this guy's got some jealousy, some darkness to him, and
Oh,
it could be that he sees this young Hulk. Baldoni's gorgeous, throbbing
gorgeous.
pectorals, and Blake Lively's adding kissing scenes and some things that were added there, and maybe who knows, who knows,
Yeah,
but
that's a really
again.
good point. That's a really good point. But it seems like new videos keep coming out. This stupid video of her having all the people come over and look at her sexy boots. And then the fact that we now found out that she like improved and a kiss that wasn't in the scene. So it seems like things keep trickling out. When are they due in court for this trial? Is it March of next year?
March 2026. And that's what's interesting, right? You see the clip of Blake Lively telling the crew her boots are sexy, and you go, well, what does this what's the point of this? But when it comes down to it and they present all of the information, they're going to use, I believe, the culture of what goes on a movie set to say, like, Baldoni telling her jumpsuit is sexy is nothing because she said these boots are sexy. And Baldoni's the director producer. He's talking to her for months on end about wardrobe. So of course he's going to comment on her appearance. They don't work at Kinko's. He's not just like, hey, Samantha, you look good in that pencil skirt. He's communicating a video through talk, through visuals, through all of these things.
Mm,
So and this is what's, if you're directing a movie and you're starring in it, and he already had the what's it called, the intimacy coordinator. Even with all of these parameters, you still see how dicey it can get because not just the egos you're working with, but how vulnerable. I've said this about Blake Lively. Like, you want to give her an out. She was like 2 months after having a baby. You know, if she ever did want to say, you know what, I read the room wrong, she could say, well, the publicist, they sent me these emails that said there was a smear campaign. So I thought there was. It turns out I was coming off the wrong way. I'm going to do some thinking. I'm going to go take some time off and be with my family. There's so many ways she can get out of this, but she believes she was harassed. And there's just no way it's going to live up to the claims she's made. I mean, they went so far as to call him a sexual predator at one point,
Yeah.
and the battles that are played out through PR that go back and forth are so dodgy. Her PR person, as it turns out, is just a monster. I mean, seemingly a monster of a person. I mean, willing to like do real unethical stuff to get a workplace communications exposed. That's what they did. That sham subpoena. They created this fake lawsuit just to extract these text messages, and then the second they got the text messages, they dropped the fake lawsuit. And it's like, how are they allowed to do this? You know, and
Yeah.
I think that's all going to play out through a very long trial if it gets that far. And because everyone says, well, will they settle? But it's like, who's going to settle? Baldoni's not going to settle because his whole livelihood has been on hold until this. Like, he's not going to work ever again unless he's producing a project. Period. Like,
Mhm.
just no one's going to want to deal with it, and he has to deal with that, and that's why he's fighting it to the like metaphorical grave.
Yeah, as he should. I mean, I don't think if there was a settlement to be had there, if he just let it lie without going to trial, I think it would be terrible for him. And for her, I do think you're right. I actually think if she took a moment, apologized, took a sheet out of whether it's the New York Times or somewhere else and just said, listen, I've thought about this. I made a mistake. Let's move on, essentially. I think it would really blow over. It might be 2 days of like, holy shit, what just happened? But it would be like, okay, it's over. And then we can move on from it. I think that would be the best thing she could do. But I do think this trial will happen. I think it's going to be like, the whole Johnny Depp and Amber Heard thing. People are just going to become obsessed and literally hate one or the other. I mean, remember how much hatred was going on during that trial?
That was wild that they had the cameras up and that they were like, I mean, it was, yeah. I mean, I said for this trial, I'll be in New York to cover it. We'll take my family there for the month and cover it because it's, it's interesting and it plays into this astroturfing that happens online and what's real and what's not. We
Yeah.
we see this happen politically where you can hire a company that's going to astroturf you. And when I say astroturfing, for those that don't know, it's like grassroots but fake. So creating bots to push an agenda that's not true. We see it a lot with healthcare industries where there's a lot of money that gets spent on astroturfing to prevent people from wanting like systemic change to make the world a better because it's worth it for them to spend a lot of money to keep us, hating each other. You see that play out, and you see it with celebrity, the old guard, the ability that you could contact a Page Six and run a story, and I hate to say it, but it still works. Like, people consume headlines and they get their news that way. I think it makes, podcasting that more powerful because like our audiences generally reject that spoon-fed like gossip, but we're
Mhm.
still we're still living in a world where half the consumers grew up in a world that was before social media, where you just
Yeah.
had to take whatever gossip told you, like the Britney Spears, that era, like it was a nightmare. And people like Perez Hilton, right? And he's apologized, but he contributed to that real like objectification of celebrity. And now we're living in a world that's, I think, becoming more empathetic, but we're not there entirely. And you're seeing audiences rally between the two. I've personally been close to this because I know people that are very close to Baldoni just from living in that area. And
Mhm.
I've done stand-up shows where people have come up to me after and said, "Oh, we're really close friends with them. They're devastated. They're just trying to push through." So this
Mhm.
idea that they try to make it like a man versus a woman, I think there's more female victims on Baldoni's side, people that have had like his wife and his producers' wives and what they've all had to deal with, and especially the PR ladies, they've had their lives pretty much ended because of this.
Wow.
And so it's not as simple as like oh, she's some sort of like actress who got smeared. She's the power structure